friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about Kiev. Lots of very interesting updates are coming exactly from this area. The start of the heating season in Kiev has been postponed. Heat may not return to homes until mid-December. Furthermore, we got report that Russia is conducting a lightning operation to plunge Ukraine into darkness. Massive airstrikes are targeting power grids, central heating systems, and gas supplies as winter approaches. The primary goal is to disrupt industry and provoke mass immigration and panic. Russian capabilities and tactics are developing faster than Ukraine air defense. So I believe that the most important task goal is to provoke mass immigration and panic. Russians are attacking mainly the central and the eastern part of Ukraine, and all these attacks on these critical objects can force Ukrainians to begin immigration from the eastern and the central part of Ukraine in the direction of the western part of Ukraine. And this can lead to the situation when the territory, or when the central and the eastern territories of Ukraine would be completely abandoned and without population. So the Russians can create a gap between populated area of Ukraine and the line of combat contact. So most likely there are going to be some people left in this area, but most likely we're talking about, first of all, very old people who has nothing, let's say, in the western part of Ukraine, and who will not be able, let's say, to get a job or something like this. So they will stay. But these people most likely will not be able to help Ukrainians along the line of combat contact. And this gap can be a turning point in the entire special military operation, because without just the civilians, let's say, services that can be provided by population to Ukrainian forces, most likely the line of combat contact and the front line and defense line of Ukraine will collapse very fast. Now let's talk about another massive drone attack that took place during the previous 12 hours. According to information we have, Ukraine attacked deep inside of the territory of Russia. The sources reported that dozens of drones were flying in the direction of the city of Moscow. The Russians were reporting of work of their air defense. Lots of drones were destroyed, but some of them managed to get targets, and lots of explosions and fires were recorded on the territory of the city of Moscow. But the main target for Ukrainians was the city of Belgorod and the Belgorod Dam. So I would like to remind you that we start discussing the situation yesterday. Today and yesterday in the evening, the Ukrainians continue attacking the Belgorod Dam. After Ukrainian HIMARS rocket and drones struck the Belgorod Reservoir Dam, the spillway has begun letting water out of the reservoir, leading to a significant reduction in the water level. So this is the video from the dam itself. As you can see, the dam was damaged with HIMARS missiles and with drones. Most likely it will take time before Russians will be able to repair the dam, and obviously the water level will be reduced. And the sources are saying that the water is going in the southern direction, so from the Belgorod Water Reservoir Dam in the direction of the city of Volchansk. So this is the way where the water will move. And according to information we have, all these territories can be, let's say, can suffer from this situation. And as we can see, all these territories are, let's say, located between the city of Belgorod and the city of Volchansk, where the Russians continue their offensive operation. I'm not sure whether the situation can stop the Russian offensive, but obviously this situation can slow down the Russian offensive in this region. But telling the truth, it seems that the Russians are about to finish the battle for the settlement of Volchansk. Today, several pro-Ukrainian sources adjusted their maps, showing additional progress on the ground. Furthermore, some pro-Russian sources reported that the settlement of Sinelnikovo was captured today by Russians. Maybe in coming days or hours, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm this information. Furthermore, according to information we have, the Russians managed to improve their positions on the territory of the city of Volchansk significantly. This video was published this morning by pro-Russian sources, and here we can see how a Russian soldier was raising a flag in the western part of the settlement by the name of Volchansk. Based on this video, we haven't adjusted anything because these territories were colored in Russian favor a long time ago based on the geolocation that were provided before, but this is another proof that Russians have a very strong position on the territory of the city and that the Russians are about to finish the battle for this territory. So let's wait and see what is going to be next, but most likely the Russians will strike back, and in coming days the Russians will carry out another massive missile and drone attack against Ukrainian critical infrastructure. Now let's discuss the situation in the Zaporozhye direction. During the previous 12 hours, additional changes were recorded. So right before we started making this video, several sources reported that Russians managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Yegorovka. We are waiting for a video. Most likely the video will be published by the Group of Forces East. Furthermore, the Russians stated that they managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Privolne, which is still located on the Russian side of the river Vyanchul. We are waiting for another video, and based on this video, most likely we will adjust the map of something like this. And the sources are saying that the Russians managed to finish the battle for the settlement of Novomykolaivka, which is located to the southeast of the settlement of Uspenovka. So we are waiting for videos, and some sources are saying that the videos have been already published. We are waiting for them on some channels that we know, and after that we will adjust the map, and in this situation we will discuss in more details during the evening update. So if these updates are being confirmed, then this is just the beginning of the end for the entire Uspenovka fortified area, and the Ukrainians would start retreating from this territory in coming days or maybe even hours. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation around the city of Pokrovsk. And first let's talk about its western flank. Today, several pro-Russian sources reported that the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the Pokrovskaya mine. So we are talking about this territory. This is the situation by the end of the 26th of October of 2025, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 27th of October. So the mine was captured by Russians. This is a strategical position. Now Ukrainians would be forced to fall back further in the northern direction towards the settlement of Sergeyevka, and Russians most likely will continue offensive operation further in the northern direction as well towards the same settlement. Now let's discuss the situation in the city of Pokrovsk. We are getting more and more interesting updates. First, let's discuss the progress on the ground. Today, several pro-Russian sources reported that the armored forces of the Russian Federation managed to establish complete control over the eastern part of the settlement of Mirnograd. So this is exactly how the map was developing during the previous days. This is the situation for the 24th of October. This is the situation by the end of the 25th of October. This is the situation by the beginning of the 27th of October. So several pro-Russian sources reported that Russians answered the eastern and the northeastern parts of the settlement of Mirnograd. The Ukrainians are no longer holding their lines. Now the Ukrainians are trying just to find one solution, how to escape the Mirnograd-Pokrovsk cauldron with minimal losses. But obviously this is an impossible task. Furthermore, the Russians improved their positions in the southeastern part of the city of Mirnograd. The Russian offensive operation in this area started on the 20th, somewhere on the 20th of October, and every single day we were coloring this territory in Russian favor. So now Ukrainians are getting closer to the southern Mirnograd citadel, but most likely they will not be able, and they don't want to stay there for a very long period of time. We believe that in coming 2 days they will escape this citadel further in the northwestern direction towards the settlements of Rivne and Svitla with the purpose to get and to stay as close as possible to the last evacuation road. But the problem is that the main evacuation road is under complete Russian control. We are talking about the settlement of Rodinska. So Ukrainians will retreat from all parts of Mirnograd-Pokrovsk agglomeration by exact time, by exact day. And this is the day when Ukrainians will try to launch everything they have, to send everything they have with the purpose to restore control over the settlement of Rodinska. And during the previous 24 hours, for example, the Ukrainians managed to improve their positions in this area. Now they're trying to block the settlement of Rodinska and to allow Ukrainians to escape the Pokrovsk cauldron. So this information about Ukrainian progress was provided by Ukrainian sources. So let's discuss everything in details. By the end of the 26th of October of 2025, Ukrainians managed to restore control over the southern part of the settlement of Sokhetska. And I would like to remind you that yesterday the president of the Russian Federation told the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, Valery Gerasimov, that Russians should expect counterattacks from Ukrainian side with the purpose to unblock the contingent on the territory of the Pokrovsk agglomeration. And by the beginning of the 27th of October, the Ukrainians managed to improve their positions even deeper. They recaptured the settlements of Sokhetska and Zatyshak. This information was provided by pro-Ukrainian sources. So this is the map that was provided by them. Now Ukrainians will try to cut Rodinsk and maybe to recapture the city completely. This will allow the Ukrainians to unblock the contingent and to carry out successful evacuation operation. Furthermore, the Ukrainians continue their counterattacks on the line between the villages of Ivanovka, Novoshachova, Volna. The Ukrainians managed to recapture some positions here as well, and the Ukrainians managed to finish the creation of another cauldron for the armed forces of the Russian Federation to the south of the settlement of Kucherov Yar. But once again, I would like to point to attention that all these updates that we are discussing right now were provided by pro-Ukrainian sources without proofs. We haven't seen even a single video that can confirm the situation that was described by them. So we are discussing the situation because these are the updates that were provided by pro-Ukrainian sources that probably worth our attention due to some credibility to the sources that provided this information. But saying the truth, we have doubts about all these things that were provided by pro-Ukrainian sources, and we prefer to wait for additional updates until better clarification of the situation. Now let's move further. As for the Sivers-Liman direction, the Russians continue their offensive operation. More and more reports and updates are coming from the city of Liman. The sources are saying that the situation is very difficult and that Russians are about to launch their major offensive with the purpose to break through Ukraine's defense completely. As for the Kupiansk direction, according to information we have, the head of this group of forces of the armed forces of Ukraine, Drapaty, ordered Ukrainians to begin withdrawal their positions. So most likely in coming days, Ukrainians will try to evacuate themselves from the Kupiansk agglomeration, and we're going to see the same situation as we can see right now in the area of the city of Pokrovsk. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.